got it.
Yeah. I'm going to change my glasses.
Too late. You already online.
Right.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Academy of Astrology UK. I'm Rod Chung, and today with me is Sue and Marcus. Hello, everyone. Do you have a really good Libra Ingress? Oh, meh.
Yeah. Greece, Marcus. Wow.
Huh?
You've been to Greece?
I know. Why?
I thought that's what Rod said.
Oh, no. It's just like meh, you know.
Okay.
I think our joke really gets through.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe before we talk about it, let me share the chart so we have a little bit idea what we're going to talk about. I think we did talk about Libra Ingress last week with Marcus, but I mean recently at this moment lots going on. I don't know, have you noticed that news? There are few things quite interesting, and the first, I mean, because the day for the Libra Ingress is also near the full moon, and that was kind of pretty intense. Although when we look at the chart, we say, yeah, that is kind of a moon is kind of a square. Yes, moon is square, right? Moon is square. Pluto, and I think it was the full moon. I think on the day before was a full moon, and I think the first things before the full moon, volcano in La Palma finally erupt. I mean, it's a lot of talk about that. There is a drama way, because I really love La Palma, this island, because it's I think although it's outside of the African coast, west coast, but it's territory of the Spain. And if we count it as Europe, it's the most clear sky. It's a remote island, most west side of all the Canary Island. Yeah. And then I love to go there to take the photo, but I always, if you read those sort of scientific, I think if I call it a science program, scientists were very upset. But always talking about a huge earthquake and volcano eruption will happen in that island, will split that island in two parts. Half part will fall into the sea and cause huge tsunami, and will destroy Brazil and the American East Coast. That's the dramatic, that's the most drama way to talk about that.
Wow.
Yes, that is quite interesting. That's why when my friends started talking about that, I said, I haven't heard about this tragic for a long time. Why people talking about? And then I realized, because from that time, there is a whole already 1 week of earthquake continuing in La Palma until I think it was 20 September. Finally, the volcano erupt, and there is drama. I think now the lava is reaching the sea, will release the toxic gas or something. I don't know, but I was book holiday to go there soon.
Yeah. No, I want to say something about La Palma, because I've been there a couple of times, and one of the things that I do love, I completely agree with Rob, that the sky is beautiful there. And
beautiful.
The sky is unpolluted there. That's why there are so many astronomical observatories at the top of the mountain. Many, and I hope they haven't been damaged by the volcano. I don't know, actually.
Yeah.
I've seen no report about it, so I don't really know. But, it's extraordinary. It's extraordinary when you go up that high hill. There was all these different shaped observatories from countries. It's amazing.
Yeah, love it.
All at the top. Yeah. And when I was there last time I was there, I did a night trip with a small.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
The stargazing, right?
So clear. However, it was cloudy. So
oh no!
Such a disappointment.
Come with me next time. I will do your. I will not chat you. I will do your.
Yes. Yeah.
And then another things that I think is on the day of Libra Ingress, Australia has a huge earthquake, magnitude 5.8 ish near Melbourne. interesting to think about that. I mean, if I'm right, that is not area of a firing, so-called Pacific firing. So the earthquake happened there is not usual.
Unusual.
Unusual, yeah. So
no, I was just going to mention. I mean, I presume you guys know this, but traditionally, Mercury, interestingly, was the planet associated with earthquakes.
I know. I always want to ask. Do you have any explanation?
Yes, I mean, I think at least this has always been my assumption. Because Mercury was, I know this from medical astrology. Mercury ruled wind.
Okay.
But wind, I mean, literally could be wind weather, but it's also wind as in spasms and tremors. So
really?
In humans, it's neurological diseases like twitching and shifting and uncontrollable.
Right.
So earthquakes would be like wind in the earth.
I didn't know that, actually.
Tremors and shaking.
Yeah.
I remember that a lot of the significations that were accorded to the 7 traditional planets shoved off onto the outer planets when they were discovered. So a lot of what we now think of as Neptune was traditionally Venus. A lot of what we think of as Uranus was actually Mercury.
Yes.
And a lot of what we think of Pluto was Saturn or Mars. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So Mercury actually was the traditional ruler of earthquakes. And it makes sense if you think of it as movement in the earth, as wind in the earth.
Yeah. That is very interesting. I like this idea because I think because I always ask, I know the Mercury is one of the traditional symbol of earthquake because I've come from, Pacific Island, and the earthquake for us is very usual. I did notice that the one time, the biggest one earthquake was happened in Taiwan in 2001 was I think that full moon or the lunar eclipse or solar eclipse has a Mercury on the angle.
Interesting.
I say that's traditional way. I noticed that, but I just couldn't explain. And I like you saying that that's twitch or something.
Yes, it's the shaking.
Yeah, because on the chart there's an exact Mercury Pluto square.
And the Mercury opposite, because that's the Mercury square, Mercury moon Pluto T square. We did talk about that last month, last session.
Exactly. That could be significant, and obviously this is a key point because for astrologers will all know this, but sometimes this is something that sort of skeptics will sort of level at astrology. They'll say, well, if Mercury's earthquakes, why isn't Mercury always on an angle in the charts of all earthquakes and stuff like that? Well, one, you need to look at the chart of the place, like of the actual country, and see what the transits are and what the progressions are to that chart. And two, the traditional method, as you mentioned, Rod, would often be to look at eclipse charts around or near to the event. But the reason is it's the general significance of earthquakes, but it's really important what it's doing in the chart of, say, in this case, La Palma or that part of Australia, and what was happening at that time, and how, for example, this T-square is tripping off the charts of those local areas.
Exactly.
Yeah. Of course, this chart that you've got here for Libra Ingress of the Sun or the autumn equinox, is set in London. We didn't get any for all the volcanoes.
No. But I think we probably will go if we have like a magnitude 3 earthquake. Everyone was screaming, I think. That was a joke. I think a couple of years ago there's small earthquake happened. I say small, but it's magnitude 3 or something, and it was appear on the breaking news, and I was like, really? Magnitude 3, and you use it as a breaking news. Anyway, but I think I would consider UK, we don't have earthquake that usual. So I think that's a breaking news.
We're not. No.
Yeah. So yes, that's a new moon thing. That's an Ingress chart. Ingress happened around this time, and we can expecting lots going on. I think for following 3 months, especially if you see the UK's. Last time, me and Marcus, we talked about quite a lot of scenario. Like people are not happy and this and that. I think it's we already see that couple days was quite busy, and the financial market performing is was huge too, because the shocking news comes. There's 2 major shocking news, and I'm going to talk about with Tanya Dennis this Saturday, tomorrow evening.
Right.
One thing Tanya going to focus on is the huge news about the Australia kind of, abandon the contract with France to buy the submarine from France. Right. They turn to US and UK, want to have like a nuclear power submarine rather than use the French one. And France was quite upset about this.
Yes,
yeah. Yes. Another thing was the I think I can say global market, but particularly in Asia market during that day, 21st, 22nd, the market was landslide. Going down terribly.
Bad. Okay, going
very,
down.
Very bad, because one the reason we believe is that one the huge company, estate company in China, is going to have the financial problem, and this huge company, can cause a lot of damage because I think a lot of banks hold their bond. A lot of international bank hold their bonds. So now we are waiting for, what's going to happen. So that's like caused like a 2 days market going down, but now Europe coming back and Asia is a little bit back too. But it is interesting. All happened around that full moon and Libra Ingress. I just feel fascinating,
That's true. Yeah, it's true, actually. I mean, it's like, and the financial problems that England is beginning to experience, which is only going to get worse temporarily, at least. Scare anybody.
Do you know what I noticed in the last couple of days on YouTube? I mean, this may just be my own personal YouTube feed echo chamber effect, of course, because the way the electronics works, it shows you what you search for. But I've noticed that there are a lot more videos on YouTube now in the last couple of days that have been coming up that have been quite openly on YouTube questioning some of the stuff about the COVID vaccination program and whatever. Now, whatever you think of that, that's interesting, because a couple of months ago, those would have been booted off straight away. And I'm just thinking that may speak to, it may be just, as I say, this may be my little echo chamber, what the YouTube is showing me. But that moon, Mercury, Pluto, T-square, it's kind of digging up stuff, information, like we talked a bit about last week, Rod, and I wonder whether that may be symptomatic, because obviously those kinds of discussions, while they might be necessary, are quite upsetting to a lot of people. So I'm not talking about like wildly conspiratorial stuff. What I'm talking about is just people questioning the narrative a bit more. And I thought that was quite, from my point of view, that was quite good, because I hate that kind of censorship thing. Whatever you think of it, I don't really like it. But that was interesting.
And that's interesting, Marcos, because of course in a couple of days, in 27th, Mercury goes retrograde again.
Yes. And squaring Pluto.
It's a powerful one this time, because what I have experienced myself the last couple of days, so it's not even retrograde yet. It's there, but it's not there yet.
It's in its shadow period, isn't it, Sue?
It is. And I've had really big problems with communication with one particular person, and also with my website and my bank not giving me the information I want. I've got to have to go to the bank.
Me too, Sue. Interestingly, I've had my work phone, my very old iPhone, like donkey's old. The battery's been slowly dying over a couple of years. Just died, totally died. And so I've had to post it off, and they've sent me another bill for replacing the battery, and they're sending it back to me. So I'm using this tiny, crappy, little ancient old phone. Which is fine.
That's a really old-fashioned phone.
But I have a lot
Could
of
you
clients
browse Facebook on it?
No.
That's not a smartphone. That's a little baby phone.
Yeah, they're great. I love them. But unfortunately, I've got into the habit of contacting a lot of clients through WhatsApp. So that's going to be a problem.
Oh, dear. Yes.
But the funny, I think the reason might be because obviously Mercury was stationing retrograde. So even though it was slowing down as well as in its shadow period.
Yeah.
And of course, it's also in square to Pluto.
Yeah.
So, but it's an interesting one because at the same time as squaring Pluto, it's trining retrograde Jupiter. So it's kind of like things communication wise might break down, and that some things might actually die. But there's also this amazing lifeline whereby period they all get fixed. So it's this weird mixed thing where you'll get these really intense things to do with communication, which are total breakdowns and revelations of unpleasant information that are really upsetting, and at the same time you get these kind of like social supports and solutions for things. So it's an interesting one.
I think what I just developed from what you're talking about, Marcus, I think I will interpret it in the similar way. Is like Mercury square Pluto is like prohibited by the system. So what do you think, or what do you say, or what do you go into planning is maybe stopped or suppressed by the system? But looking another way, it invites you to the Jupiter in Aquarius, invites you to try to, thinking outside of the box. Maybe. And thinking, they're doing something different,
Yeah, there's a really helpful social outlet. Or
it's not just it's not just what everybody think, but there's some people using different system, or there's some people using different way.
Yeah, and that I think that's right, Rod, because of course they're in Capricorn and Aquarius, although both Saturn ruled signs are right next door to each other. They don't really see each other. They don't have much conversation with each other at all. So it's almost like two separate things. One prohibiting and one inviting or open door. So that's interesting. So what happens to if you are these things? Because what I'm anticipating with my phone is I'm hoping, of course, that they'll re-deliver it to me tomorrow. And
I hope so.
It'll function perfectly. But obviously, knowing as we do as astrologers that this thing happened just on the eve of a Mercury retrograde, I'm anticipating some further technological issues. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's like, I have been told the only way for me to solve my problem with the banks, it wouldn't let me in. It keeps letting me out.
Oh no!
My online bank. It means I've actually got to travel to the West End, which is where my bank is. I physically go there. You can't solve anything online.
Oh dear. Yeah.
Such a mission, eh? But
well, for me, it's a whole holiday rebooked.
Wow.
Oh really?
So I was thinking, when you guys talking about that, I was like, oh, nothing. I don't have any Mercury experience this morning. I say, no, nonsense. That is eruption of volcano Pluto.
Yeah.
And the whole holiday rebook Jupiter.
Well, I mean, it depends what you've got. Because obviously for me, I've got a whole bunch of stuff at 26, 27.
Yes.
And Cancer. So that's all being picked up there. I've got my Mercury and Venus at 26, 27 Aries, and my Mars Cancer at 26 Cancer. So it's all being by that lot. And Sue, I know you've got Moon in Libra, but do you have anything around those degrees of the cardinal?
24, 23.
No, I've got other planets like Jupiter's at 24. But that's not a cardinal. It's
what 24? Oh, Sag though. Yeah. That's that's a sextile. That's
the sextile. Yeah.
Well, okay.
Yeah, I
forget about sextile. Sorry.
I have my son in 24 Aquarius. Thank you very much. Just for remind me.
Okay.
But I can't believe it. It's not whining. It's not whining, and it's kind of a surprise and a little bit so because I'm amused. You say like. I haven't been traveling for nearly 2 years, and my first holiday, volcano.
Wow.
No, I'm thinking about how going on holiday, and it's like, oh dear, perhaps I should.
Yeah, because I really want to go take some nice star photo.
We talked about this last week, Rod, didn't we? Though we said probably not the best time to book stuff because of this chart. Do you know what I mean?
And I would just keep my mouth shut. I would just keep I just keep my mouth shut. I don't want to tell them I already booked. I don't want to tell them I already booked.
Well, I haven't yet booked, so I'm thinking about it.
No, yes. If you haven't booked,
This was the thing. I went to an event two weekends ago, and it's the weekend of the Moon in Scorpio squaring Saturn, and that was the Friday when I was traveling to it, and I thought, oh, it'll probably be okay. Anyway, everything on this weekend that could go wrong went horribly wrong, and it just ended up as a complete mess. And I had to leave early because I was just like, otherwise I'm going to start murdering people. So, and then I was speaking to a friend later, and they were like, why didn't you just stay? If the astrology was that bad, why did you just? I thought, well, I thought it'd be all right. And I think sometimes as astrologers,
you just think it's going to be okay.
There's that fine balance, isn't there, between sort of like you want to live your life and not be like paranoid about, you know.
I agree. Yes.
Stellar influences, but at the same time, if something is properly red flagged, then pay attention to the red flag. But
to be honest, yes.
Yes.
I think it's important to say that those of you that are watching, for whom there might be a problem with Mercury going retrograde, we know about that. We've talked about it on these evenings before. If you've got anything wrong with your internet, or with your banking system, or with your transport system, or all sorts of mercurial things, if anything is going to go wrong, you know, be careful, because it could. So be careful what you're committing yourself to.
Yeah, you can check our video list. I think that is the very first episode we ever record. I was recorded with Sue and the Monday.
Yes,
I think that was the very first video.
Like 5-6 years ago now.
Yes, I think
so. It's a good little video about Mercury retrograde.
Yes,
and just one other quick point on that, which I know we've said before, and if you watch that video, it's really comprehensive. It'll go into all the ins and outs of Mercury retrogrades. But basically, Mercury retrogrades, it doesn't mean that everything is knackered. It just means you've got to double check stuff. And
yes,
I really like the way the astrologer Larda Doncheva says this. She says, when the planet goes retrograde, it's like you have to work twice as hard at those things.
Yes,
you have to go back over them and double check them. So actually, it's a really good time for going back over old communication stuff.
Yes,
and in fact, that's the function of it, right? Because what it does really, it doesn't cause the problems. It's just that the problems, if there are any, show up at that time. Like my phone's battery, that work phone's battery, has been slowly dying for about a year, and I just thought, it'll be all right, it'll be all right, it'll be all right. And then now it goes square to Pluto, boom, that's your lot. So now it's like, I've got to fix it. So of course it's massively inconvenient, and you have to spend all this effort, but that by the time it turns direct, you'll have got a turnaround and a lot of stuff, and it's a pain in the bum. But Mercury retrogrades happen 3 years, and really they're just an opportunity for refiling stuff, and it's a pain, but you've got to do it. And when you do it, things work better afterwards. So
to be honest, yes, I agree. This is the time we be more careful with our communication, we be more careful with our mind process, and especially we say that make decision making. I think usually
the details, Rod.
Yes. Oh, yeah, detail. That's the detail. Yes.
I constantly find I'm sending during Mercury retrogrades, not always, because it depends whether it's hitting your chart or not, but I'm sure with this one in my 12th house squaring loads of stuff, it'll be happening a lot. I find myself having to send second emails to people a lot because I've missed an important detail out, or I've got the quote wrong, or I've sent some wrong thing to them.
I sent an email to an important email to a client, and she rang me and said, I didn't get anything.
Ooh.
What do you mean you didn't get it?
Stuff like that happens all the time.
I think, thank God, I don't have like a natal Mercury retrograde, but I do have like a Mercury in Pisces, a square Neptune, and square Saturn. That's my everyday's life.
My Mercury's retrograde. And
I say it's not literally Mercury retrograde, but I have problem with Mercury literally every single day.
Right. Yeah. I mean, mine's not great in the 6th house and stationary.
Okay.
But in sextile to Jupiter and trine to Saturn, and so it's kind of like and conjunct Venus. So there's quite a lot of help for my Mercury, which is good. But stationing retrograde, so. Yeah. Whatever.
Okay.
Perfect.
one of our audience share with us that my car in the shop for the preemptive check. My ruler, I think it's probably ascendant ruler by Mercury in Libra. Protection of perfection, I guess, perfection. Okay. And Mars, the 3rd house ruler, combust in the sky. Probably combustion, I think.
So what their meaning is their natal ascendant?
I think so, yes. Mercury in Libra.
Oh, but what's their natal ascendant, or are they saying?
I don't know. She she just say ruled by Mercury in Libra perfection year. So missing a little bit of information. That's okay, but thank you for sharing with us.
Thank you. Yeah, we get the point. I mean, saying that the combustion in the third house could mean sort of engine trouble or stuff. But I'd want to know what planet ruled the ascendant and where it fell in the birth chart.
Yeah,
but that's I think. That's quite illustrative.
I think for our friend Astrofly, she's always online to support us. Yes. And thank you. And I think what I will focus on here is not only that. I think there is a little bit of like a double whammy, and I think that's the Mercury things and with the third house combust. Yes. So for me, that's if there is a one side, you may be aware about it. If that's show twice, you may be, be very, very careful with it.
Yes. And if the third house is ruled by Venus right now, also Venus opposing Uranus, so if that you're saying that Libra
I think it's Mars. That's Mars. Her third house ruler is Mars.
Oh, the ruler. Okay. Oh, sorry. I thought the conjunction was in. This is why when you can't see the chart. And you don't
true. Yeah, we just get image.
Yeah. But okay. So the only other thought I had about this ingress chart was something we haven't yet mentioned, which is a minor thing, but still interesting. Was just the approaching two trines, Mars to Saturn. And Sun to Saturn.
Not
very exciting, not very spectacular. I think that the Mars Saturn one is interesting because even trines between Mars and Saturn I find aren't great.
Not comfortable, maybe.
No, I mean, so one thing I noticed this week, because obviously Mars is my ascendant ruler, and is my Sun's at 10 Aries, so Mars is kind of applying to oppose my Sun, and Saturn squaring my ascendant. I've had like loads of crackling in my sternum. It really worried me.
Oh my God.
No pain. Crackling. So I had to I had to Dr. Google this and go, because I haven't got any pain, so it's not costochondritis or inflammation. But they're just like, sometimes if you've got a bit of extra inflammation, so in the sternum, the breast.
Okay.
So Saturn is bones and Mars is inflammation. So with a trine,
interesting.
So I'm thinking that's perfect for a trine with those. It's like literally as I was breathing in and out.
Yes.
Both of them in air signs and Saturn down near my fourth, which is the sort of center of the chest here.
Yeah.
Breathing in just a bit of extra inflammation, a little bit crackling, but not really doing anything nasty. Do you know what I mean? It's like when Mars goes into Scorpio, into my ascendant and squares Saturn, then I expect I'll have some
please don't.
That usually happens for me when Mars squares Saturn in the angles of my chart. I'll usually either have gone climbing and overdone it and I'll have a couple of days really stiff, or you get a bit feverish. You usually get some kind of body aches, a little bit battered, depending on what else is going on for you. So it's kind of like that. I think this Mars Saturn, it's an opportunity to get some work done and maybe to edit social contacts or something, but it's also, it tends to just gently increase inflammation a little bit.
I think that's a very interesting, especially the aspect from the view from the from their body and their health. I think we should find some time to talk about that, because Marcus is a very, very special on this subject. So, and we also have like Mars, apart from Mars and the Sun, also going to try it like for over next week. And the both planet is about like both planet is a little bit like a important theme and or more like a leader, both sides. So this try, I mean, it's pretty interesting.
It is.
Yeah. Sorry.
Go through.
What I wanted to add is that we haven't really addressed fully. I mean, Marcus has just mentioned the Venus opposite Uranus on this chart, Uranus of the Sun, and of course Uranus is rising, which is pretty cool place for it to be.
We did talk about that last week.
I wasn't here last week.
That's all right. Let's hear what the Sue going to Sue's interpretation.
Different spin on it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what occurred to me, especially because Mercury's in the 6th house, so it might have to do with some kind of publicity or or getting information from different media or something. What my feeling was with Uranus opposite Venus pretty closely is that something may break, because this chart, this Libra Ingress chart, this autumn equinox chart is valid for a while. It's not just a passing chart. It'll be there for a while, or it won't be there for a while, but the energy of it and what it's representing is there. And what struck me is that there may be some scandal breaks with regard to some famous couple or something of that sort.
I think we have the same point, right, Marcus?
We did make a same about
that. Yeah, we guess the same thing. I think so. It's quite interesting because it's kind of a shocking news. It's like a suddenly back.
Rod was making some not identical points, Sue, but I think what you've just said, the thing that might be slightly different there, Rod, was we were focusing mainly on the political mood in the country. And what you were saying there, Sue, is interesting. There might be some like celebrity couple, some Venusian element or something like
scandal thing.
Yeah.
I agree.
Breaks on the news. And all the hellos and all those.
I think it's valid because when we talk about mundane astrology, it could be going all different level. But I think maybe I was just like usually we're thinking about a more thinking in political, social structure, culture, more like that. And then I try to. I mean maybe it's I used to working for a radio station and working with a lot of the performer or the actor or artist. I try to ignore those parts, try to more focus on taking it more seriously. So I usually just like, that's entertainment news. Let me move away.
Well, the press is likely to get hold of this and make it big.
Yeah, well, that's very interesting. So we really cover like Sun Mars trine Saturn and the T square and Venus with opposition with the Uranus. So I think it's pretty much about this Libra Ingress chart we have like covered and for like two sessions. This is I think is quite interesting. And then there's the I think this chart we can keep it for at least the next 3 months to keep in mind what's going to happen around us.
Just touch into referring to it in future.
Yeah, I think it's quite important.
What we're saying happens if it does.
Yeah, I do think before because I'm aware we just sort of run over time now,
yes,
but the thing that you mentioned last, Rod, the sun, because Mars trines Saturn and then the sun trines Saturn. So I'm trying to think what that could mean on a mundane level, like the Mars Saturn trine, because obviously if you think about Saturn as sort of bureaucrats or things like the policy, the really obvious policy of social distancing, that's Saturn in Aquarius, I think, but also just sort of social control and rules, social rules, and the Mars trine. Oh, go on, Sue. Yeah.
No, sorry, I was just thinking. What came into my mind is what it may be connecting to is the COP thing that's coming up, the climate change meeting between different people. I mean, it's like Jupiter in Aquarius in the 11th. So it's like this is news that's disseminating. It's going out into the world. To other groups.
What's the climate? What's this?
Oh
yes, there's a big
climate control thing that's going on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, within the remit of this chart will last a couple of months.
I wonder. I think you might that might be bang on, Sue. I mean, it'd be interesting to see because the Mars. If we think of Mars as sort of police and the Sun as important people or leaders or whatever, those going to trine Saturn show that during this period, some kind of temporary, because Saturn's retrograde, entente or accord or agreement between, like some formal contractual social agreement about the rules in some way that's afforded between the police forces.
This is very interesting, Marcus, because one of the things that's recently been out in the media is the commitment of the Chinese president to close coal stations in other countries, not in China, but in other countries.
Yes.
Coal-fired stations.
Yeah.
So it's like that's releasing something that's tangible and you can put your finger on it. It's something It's really not far enough. But
my final point, and then I will shut up because we could run on forever. But that we really could, because this is what it's like when astrologers start talking about stuff. But the interesting thing here is that there is a reception in that Saturn receives Mars and the Sun because they're both in Saturn's exaltation. So it's like Saturn saying welcome, but the Sun rejects Saturn because Saturn's in Aquarius, which is the detriment of the Sun. And what's interesting there is, even though it's a trine and a friendly aspect, it's kind of like the bureaucratic end, the contract, and also Saturn's retrograde. So that's like two ways of saying to me, here is a temporary agreement where they'll try and like the police or the military or the power aspect, the Mars bit will fit in with the Saturn, and then the Sun will come along and they'll sign it, they'll go along with it, but they'll kind of reject the agreement and also Saturn's retrograde, so it will kind of come undone eventually. But this is a temporary agreement that we'll see forming up in this quarter, whatever that represents.
It's a step.
That is so interesting. There's so much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Sue. Thank you, Marcus. I think because we run out of time, and this is so interesting. Yeah, and it is very interesting. Like a Marcus says, when we start talking about chart, we just on and on and on. If no one going to say time's up, we were just talking about for 2 or 3 hours until we like we left now. Okay, thank you everyone, and welcome to our YouTube channel. And if you really like our YouTube, please subscribe on our YouTube and keep an eye on our message on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. We update news every day, and we have a lot of events going on. This Saturday we have the Christine Skinner going to give us a talk about declination in mundane astrology. That is very juicy.
Amazing. And what's the thing with Tanya?
Tanya, yeah. Then after that, we have like every month we have a horoscope. So talking about mundane astrology. So this month I invite our friend Tanya. She's a very good traditional astrologer, and we already exchanged a lot of idea about that. We're going to talk about Tanya going to focus on this. What we just talking about the Australia, UK, and US form a kind of ally trying to with the submarine event, but this event kind of upset France, and then also China is a little bit upset too. Anyway, so so now I'm going to talk about this potential bank crisis in China. So this is what going to happen tomorrow. So thank you everyone, and then I think the next Friday will definitely is a pre-record session because I will be away. So just to give you an idea, I don't know what episode I'm going to put on. That could be Marcus and I talking about reception. That could be Mandy and I talk about aspect. We will see. Okay, see you everyone. Bye.
Bye. Bye.